Hey, this is Jordan Woods Robinson. I play Eric on The Walking Dead. You are listening to the Dave and Creech Show.
This is the Dave and Creech Show, the only podcast where podcaster CJ Creech and actor Dave Sheridan come together to talk all things entertainment with your favorite entertainers. Want to ask our guests a question? Tweet them to @DaveSheridan or @CJCNOV88, and they may be asked to our guests live on the show. We do have to ask you stay seated during the podcast because this ride may get a little bit hilarious. Now here's your hosts, Dave and Creech.
Hey everyone out there, and welcome to the Dave and Creech Show. This is episode 40. Jeez, has it really been 40 episodes already?
It has. 40 great episodes.
40 great episodes, but somehow not 40 fantastic guests. But we do we do have a pretty awesome guest. It's actually, I believe it's the first return guest we've had on the show. I can't recall anybody else coming on twice so far. But that will be Jordan Woods Robinson, who plays Eric on The Walking Dead, and who's going to be on everybody's TV screens soon enough. And not just The Walking Dead, but quite a few other projects as well. So it's a pretty busy time and a great time if you're a fan of his, just to be able to see all of his work coming to fruition.
It's a busy time for Jordan. He's getting a busy.
He is, and I couldn't be more than happier for him because he's a great guy. Definitely deserves it. He's very down to earth, which is always a good thing.
People like that. People like to work with down to earth people. That's why I got to work on my down to earthness. On that.
You do this podcast, so maybe that's helping to contribute to your down to earthness.
Good. Yeah, exactly. The more down to earth people we have on the podcast, maybe that podcast. I said podcast like a catheter. You can get entertained by our podcast, or you can fill it up with shit.
Well, depending on some people's opinions of some of our episodes, it may be a podcast. I mean, there's been some that maybe weren't that good.
Exactly.
So
it could have went that way.
Yeah.
The iPod, it got smaller and thinner, but when they first came out, they were like, those little like bricks. I still have the original one because I think I have I want to say a 250 gigabyte iPod, and it's full. And I don't know when they made those other ones, the thinner iPods with all touch screens, iPod Touch and stuff like that. They never really had that big of hard drives, and I had a lot of music to put on. So I've always kept the old one.
Yeah, that plus those old iPods, those things were like bricks. You could toss those things around and it would still work perfect.
I never really moved it. It's just in my car. It's set up inside my arm, it's inside the little storage thing hooked into the radio. So.
Oh, I had one of the original Nanos, and I dropped that thing downstairs and everything, and it worked perfectly.
Yeah, I have 2 Nanos, and I don't know what the heck this thing is. It's not a Nano, but it's like the little white one that's long, like a flash drive. I think it was before the Nano. iPod Mini maybe or something they called it, where it's got the same little controllers as the Nano at the top part, but it is just a little flash drive thing. And I don't know how big that one is. I just have enough music. I only put 1 or 2 albums on there anyway. I've always left the same ones on there. It's like AC/DC and Cheap Trick and Chromatics, and I just use that to exercise with. So, but I always wear out the ear thing. They always drift out, but as I get a new iPhone every 2 years, I just put it on that thing. So, but the hard drive because it is just a flash drive with basically a couple buttons. That thing, I guess, it'll work until I lose it, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, those things have a pretty good shelf life as opposed to, like you're saying, like all the newer stuff that seems to only last maybe a year or two, and then you have to get a new one.
Yep.
But anyways, yeah, we've got a pretty long episode. I know some people might have been getting used to our, like, hour-long episodes, but this one's a double episode, I guess you could say, double length. So let's go ahead and get into the Walking Dead wrap-up. Now, last week we didn't do one, so we're kind of playing catch-up on that. So it's going to be me and Alyssa talking the past 2 episodes, not the one that just aired last night, but episodes 2 and 3 of The Walking Dead.
Perfect.
We're on Easy Street, and it feels so sweet, 'cause the world is but a treat when you're on Easy Street, and we're breaking out the good champagne. We're sitting pretty on the grave.
It's been a crazy 2 weeks.
It really has. Yeah, the craziest.
Yeah, and who'd have thought that, like, even, you know, real life would be crazier than The Walking Dead right now.
Real life is about to be The Walking Dead here pretty soon. I hope everybody's been paying attention to the show because it's teaching the life lessons at this point.
It's kind of weird. We missed last week. Last week, I guess, was a little crazy. I was a little worn down from Walker Stalker and then doing the Keckner interview. That just kind of.
Yeah, I didn't blame you. No, I understood.
It seems like from what we're seeing on The Walking Dead, Negan, I mean, granted, I love Negan, but, like, you know, to most people, Negan's not getting any nicer. Now he's, you know, torturing Daryl and doing some pretty messed up stuff with Dwight's whole, I guess you could say, family situation there.
Yeah, I know. It's hard not to find Negan charming a little bit, and it makes you kind of go to war with yourself because you're like, why do I like somebody like that? Like, I need to take a long look in the mirror at myself because he's just got that, like, cool, calm, collected vibe to him while he does the craziest shit. Like, he's doing the worst thing, and he's just, like, whistling a tune. Like, he's just going about his day. My mom even called me, and we were talking about it, and she was like, I hate that I like Negan. I hate it. She was genuinely angry, and I'm like, I understand, and I'm sure that's how a lot of people are going to feel. I mean, if they don't feel that already, he just gets more, you know, he's unique. That's all I can say. He's just unique, one of a kind.
Exactly. I mean, and everything he does with, like, a smile on his face. You know?
Right.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, these 2 episodes that we're talking about today, you know, followed up this really deep, heavy premiere, but it's kind of weird in some ways. I mean, granted, the second episode with Ezekiel, Carol, and Morgan was definitely way lighter. It was actually a pretty comical episode. And then, like, you're going right back in the thick of it with this one, which isn't necessarily just emotionally exhausting like the first one was, but this one's like, they're torturing Daryl, and it's, like, breaking you down. I mean, granted, I kind of enjoyed this episode, probably more because he was getting tortured, but I can only watch Daryl Dixon eating dog food sandwiches naked for only, so many times before, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, you're like, okay, find a different way to torture him now because I'm getting sick of this one routine.
Like, seriously, like, they could have done so much worse than dog food. Like, they, okay, do dog food once, and then, like, I was, and, maybe that's just a sophomore humor of me, but, like, I would totally expect them to, like, maybe poop in one of the sandwiches and just eat it. But
Oh
like,
my
it didn't happen.
gosh. Oh yeah, that would make anybody break, even Daryl.
Right? He'd have been singing that he was Negan probably if he had to eat like some turd, sandwiches.
Yeah, no shit. Oh my god, I'd instantly be like, let me out of here. I'll do whatever you want. I don't care. I don't know, though. That's back to the whole Negan being charming. I say now, like, oh, I'd definitely be a wife. Like, I'd be like, all right, I volunteer as tribute. Like, I'll do it. I'll take one for the team. But then, yeah. But then that probably wouldn't go so well. It probably wouldn't go as I planned. But then you never know, because I say that I would be batshit crazy in an apocalypse. So maybe I would be like the Negan S, like the female version of it. So we'd be like a dynamic duo. Who knows?
I'd probably be like King Ezekiel. Just pretending to be a king, and trying to get everybody to believe me. I will say the dude they picked is phenomenal, and I was really surprised that they went the whole, that he's acting it, like with the voice and everything, and then you hear his normal voice when he's speaking to Carol. It seems like they're hitting at, and I know it's not going to end well, but it seems like they're hitting at a Ezekiel-Carol relationship, maybe.
I saw people say that, but I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I think people are so quick to like pair people up. Like, but when I watched that scene, I don't know that I really got that vibe. I think he was trying to connect it with her in a way because I think he sensed that she was distant. She didn't want to be there. She didn't buy the whole thing. She could see through him, basically. And I think he respected that. And because he respected that, he wanted to be real with her and see if that would get her to stay, and they could all help each other. So I don't know.
I just, for the record, want to say I totally got that vibe. Like, it took every fiber in my body not to like take that ending scene where he knocks on the door with the apple, and then he says that one line is like, you really need to try this, and then just to slow that shot down before it fades to black and just insert like from chicka wow wow kind of music right there in the scene. Like, seriously, that's what I was thinking the whole, like, when I saw that. I was like,
oh my gosh,
freaky.
I know. Yeah, I guess you wouldn't even really be able to say no to a guy with a tiger at your door.
Right? Yeah.
I'd be like, how can I refuse? You might stick the tiger on me.
Exactly.
It's Shiva, right? Is that Shiva?
Yeah.
It's not Shiva.
Yeah,
That's dumb. Okay. I was going to say, because someone said the other day, and I'm like, I haven't rewatched the episode, so I'm like, am I saying it wrong the whole time? But anyway, she looks amazing. I think they did great with these two.
Yeah, they did fantastic with that tiger. Sometimes I have to remind myself that it actually is not a real tiger at all, because it looks spot on. It's not one of those, it doesn't look like something straight from sci-fi. It looks like, the real deal. That freaking life of sci-fi.
Right. I always laugh at those, though, because it's funny for the actors when you see behind the scenes. Like, for Game of Thrones, they do it a lot with Daenerys and her dragons. But, they have to have, like, these shaped whatever they are, but they have the green screen type stuff over it. So they're just, like, sitting there pretending that that's a dragon or that that's a tiger. So it kind of makes me laugh when you see them behind the scenes doing it. I would feel so ridiculous, for a minute.
Yeah, well, I think he had, because it's part animatronic, part CGI, so there was at least something that definitely looked like the tiger.
Yeah.
To react to. So I don't know how much of it they actually built. I'm assuming they probably built like a face and maybe like a body, shape of a body. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, you would think they'd almost have to have like at least, oh my God, what is the word I'm trying to think of? The base of the animal, just have a shell of the body, like, because it doesn't need to be like super intricate, because then you go over with CGI, and that's when you put in the details. So they probably have like a whole thing, maybe.
Yeah, Yeah, and I don't know if he's going to be able to make it in tonight, but we're supposed to be joined at some point by Stephen Sweet. He's a part of the Dead Connection. If he's able to come in,
yeah.
he was busy. But the reason being, he was actually a savior in this episode.
He was a what?
He was
savior?
a savior. Yeah, he was one of the saviors in the sanctuary, and he was in like the very beginning of the episode. So I don't know if he'll be able to make it, but if he does, that's cool. If not, we'll bring him on next time and he can talk about it, because as we all know, the saviors aren't going anywhere. We've already seen the preview of next week, and
I know.
It's actually next week, even though these are two great episodes, I mean, next week is the episode that I've been waiting for, because, and I mean, obviously,
yeah.
Walking Dead always does that. Like, when there's some big event happening, they don't pick up on it for a couple of episodes and drag it out. And so, yes, Negan finally comes to collect for the first time this coming week's episode. And some quick-eyed fans have noticed in the trailer that Negan doesn't come alone. Obviously, there are saviors, but somebody noticed in the corner of the screen that apparently Negan brings Daryl along too, so they get to see prisoner Daryl. Yeah, he can be spotted very briefly in the trailer walking right with Negan and everybody, the saviors, right by Rick.
Oh, so he parades them around like that? Oh, man.
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah, but I'm with you. Like, this is the episode. I always enjoy getting back to our core characters, our main group when we're all almost together. But yeah, I get the stories where you have to break off and so they have to tell you what's happening with this person, and then it all comes together, because they just have too many characters to just keep everybody together all the time. But this one is going to be good.
Yeah, my feeling is that I feel like this is going to be another bottled half season, and that it's going to be very few days covered in this first half of the season, because when you think when they revealed the season 7 trailer at Comic-Con, that was like June. They were about halfway done shooting. That's probably like the first 6 episodes were featured in that trailer. But then when you think that it took to episode 4 to get the follow-up from Negan, we still haven't checked in at the Hilltop, and we also haven't checked in on Tara and Heath. So that's 2 more episodes probably right there as well. So that if this is 4 that's coming up this week, which is also a supersized episode, by the way, which is pretty cool. It's going to be 85 minutes long. But awesome. I'm assuming 5 and 6 are going to be Hilltop and Tara and Heath. So that's only at least 2 more episodes of pushing the plot along. I feel like not a lot's going to go down, technically, this first half. Which is kind of interesting. But, I mean, I'm sure probably craziness will happen in 7 and 8. I'm fully expecting another death.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh,
like, I feel like we're not going to get out of the mid-season finale without losing somebody else. I don't know if it's going to be a big person or a small person, but
I think I have an idea of who else I think will die this season, but I'm not sure if they'll get to that. I mean, they might. I'm thinking comic-wise, but yeah. So I'm interested to see this. That's another thing. I like that they are extending these episodes, but I just almost wish they would just go to a later time slot where they can be on longer. They don't have to worry about the freaking language, which also they are getting away with quite a bit with Negan, which I'm surprised. It's kind of a smooth way to sneak his vulgarity in without actually being as vulgar as he was in the comics. So kudos to them. But yeah, I wish all of our episodes could be longer because there's just so much story. So I don't know how they pack all of that always into it says an hour, but with commercials it's probably 45 minutes of showtime. So I don't know. We need more time with our Walking Dead. That's all it comes down to.
I definitely agree. Well, I mean, the thing with Negan, at least they're still shooting alternate takes as well for the Blu-ray, where you get him in his full uncensored glory. But I have to complain. I really haven't had this complaint before, but on Facebook when I put it out to everybody, a lot of people mentioned it as well. This week was ridiculous on commercials, and I realized that it's still, I've watched the episode again, and it's still the same length. It's still 42 to 45 minutes. However, the spacing that AMC is using for these commercials is just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I remember literally coming back from a commercial break this past week, and then within 3 minutes going into another commercial break. Wow. I was just there was literally 3 minutes of screen time before they went right back into commercials after 4 minutes of commercials. And then another 4 minutes of commercials.
I've heard a couple friends say that. I don't know. I don't have cable. I watch it a different way. So I don't have to deal with commercials. But, yeah, I heard that they're getting kind of crazy on it. That would take you out of the story, being interrupted by a fucking Pepto-Bismol commercial or something.
Yeah, the pacing is just really off, especially on how they do the commercials because, I mean, that was my main problem because most shows do 10, 15 minutes or maybe even just up to the intro, then a commercial. Then you got 10, 15 minutes followed by 5 minutes. Because usually it's 15 minutes commercial, 45 minutes of TV shows. So usually every 10, 15 minutes there's a commercial break. But Walking Dead, especially this past episode, wasn't doing that. They were doing commercial breaks every 3 to 5 minutes, and it was ridiculous.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, I guess it played off a little decently this week. By doing it just because, a lot of the scenes were going back to Daryl just constantly waking up and getting tortured with the music or the sandwiches. So it kind of fit in with, hey, we're coming back from a commercial break. Look, they're mistreating him again or whatnot. And then it would go during commercial. But for the same thing, it just, was ridiculous. I feel like they need to do better with pacing of their commercials.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, the friend that told me, she was it made her so mad that she's I almost feel like just waiting to watch this season when it comes out on video. She was willing to wait that long because of those commercials pissed her off so much. So, oh gosh, that sounds horrendous. I'd be so mad. I'd be probably calling AMC and be knock this shit off. Seriously, not cool, guys. Not fucking cool.
Right,
you
gotta unleash your inner Negan on him.
I didn't even mean to do that, but that's awesome.
Yeah, next you're gonna be demanding half their shit.
No kidding, yeah. I'm just gonna channel Negan in everything I do now. Watch out, world.
Exactly. But yeah, it's definitely. I'm really stoked. I'm interested because now. Rick's going back to Alexandria with the whole I'm not in charge anymore, Negan's in charge. And it's going to be interesting to see that whole dynamic play out because Rick's been kind of king boss for so long, and he's been so cocky and sure that, whatever is going to happen, I'm going to take care of it. This is not a democracy anymore. Well, you just got trumped, Rick. And
yeah, for real.
Negan is coming to collect.
Right. Oh my gosh, it's going to be a ridiculous episode. But also, what do you think of Dwight? How are you feeling with him?
I don't know. I still really don't like him. And at this point, it kind of sounds bad. I don't know. I mean, Austin Emilio is a cool dude, but I don't know. I just don't like, I don't like his portrayal of Dwight, knowing how Dwight goes into the comics. I don't know if he'll be able to pull that off. I mean, if he can, then that's great. But we'll find out soon enough, because I felt this when I watched it. I feel like, obviously, at the end of this episode, Daryl and him had a bonding moment. And even though everybody wants Daryl to kill Dwight, I don't think they're going to kill each other. I honestly think they're going to wind up teaming up and breaking out and escaping from Negan. And I feel like this was planting the seeds there because, in the end they had that moment. And it seems like, that's the first of many. I mean, because Negan, in some ways Dwight's as much of a victim as Daryl is. I mean, Dwight ran away and then he almost lost everything, and just to not die, his fiancée, wife, whatever she was, had to give herself to Negan. And then, in some ways, even though he still has his life, he lost his life, everything that he had known before. So, that will be interesting to see. I don't know. So I feel like sometimes the portrayal of Dwight is a little hit or miss with the actor.
Right.
And then
Dwight is a interesting character. He's got a lot of different sides to him, which I can see how that would be hard to play. Because you have to. Yeah, he's just very troubled, but I have faith in it. I still, even though I know from the comics kind of where his character goes, I still, dislike him right now. It does make him hard to like when you know what he's done. He killed Denise, and killed Daryl's shit and all that stuff. But then you understand why he did it. And so, when I heard that music all through, like, they opened the episode with him doing all his normal everyday stuff, but it's playing that freaking song. And it's like, to me, I took that as, like kind of like you touched on, he's just as tortured as Daryl right now, except this is like Dwight's every day. He's tortured every single day by this, and he can't get away from it. So, I'm with you. I think they're setting it up for teaming up action.
I will make this prediction right here and now, that I think, I don't know if it'll be by season's end, but I kind of predict it will be, but it could be, in a couple seasons or next season. But I think, obviously, Dwight in the comics goes to be the more Daryl-like role in the comic series. I'm having a feeling that in this show, obviously, they've already had a Dwight and Daryl. I don't think one of them is going to survive. I don't know if they'll be killed, but it just makes sense because at this point, they're both basically the same character, especially once they get out. So I see one of them dying, not having as long a life. At least I don't know if it'll be Dwight, but he may not have as long a life as span as he does in the comics, or it might be Daryl's time to finally go. Because, when you think about it, they're pretty much the same character. They're both these archer guys.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's why it works for the.
Well, Dwight was even wearing Daryl's vest. And he kind of wants to be Daryl.
Even his looks are, Dwight's looks in the comics are Daryl,
Yeah.
I feel like when they made the show, they went ahead and gave that Dwight look to Daryl.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I don't know, Daryl adds an interesting dynamic, though. He's just because, I was excited for this episode because, especially with it being Daryl, because he's not in the comics, so it was kind of like new territory. We had a lot of, things taken from the comics, but still, it's like this is not a character that was in the comics during this, so it changes things quite a bit. So I'm interested to see how much it changes things. But, I don't know, it could end for anyone. As we saw, they had no problem bashing Glenn's head in, so maybe they'll do something horrendous to Daryl.
Oh, if only.
I know, you've just been waiting for it. I bet you were like, when Daryl, like, ran out the door and they surrounded him and, like, Negan had his whole little spiel, which I love the way Jeffrey delivers the lines. He's just so cool. But just when they were going to hit him with the bat, I thought of you, and I'm like, I bet he would have loved that.
I was super stoked. That was such a tease. I was like, yes. Like, I mean, I'm still trying to, personally, I know it sounds messed up. Once again, Norman's a great person. I love Norman. For those who don't know, even to show just how great a person Norman is, at Walker Stalker 2 weeks ago, Norman, you know, everybody, the convention closes at 6 p.m., but Norman was there till 10 o'clock making sure anybody who wanted an autograph got an autograph. And he felt bad for everybody that was staying that wanted his autograph, so he bought pizza for everybody.
Oh, really? That's cool.
He bought like 16 or 17 boxes of pizza, and you know, had the volunteers handing them out to the people in the line so they could have something to eat while they're waiting.
Aww.
Yeah, and he did that on Sunday as well. Like, it's just, you know, I mean, that was super cool of him. And then eventually, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, apparently they had planned, him and Norman had plans to go do something after the convention, but obviously Norman decided to stay to sign autographs, so everybody that went there that wanted one would get one. So Jeffrey Dean Morgan went over decided to go over to Norman's table and just started signing Norman's pictures with his name as well.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think he did. I think he did that for free. I don't think he charged anybody for that.
That's
He just went over there and started signing stuff. I will say this season so far, you know, we're 3 episodes in. It's a different feel. It definitely feels like a whole brand new show from episode 1 on.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of interested to see what's going to happen. I don't know how they're going to balance this out with making sure we're getting meaningful stories when there's so many different separate stories, you know, locations going on right now. Because now it's like the Kingdom, and it has its own set of characters, and then you have the Sanctuary and their own set of characters. You have Alexandria and their own set of characters. And in some ways, never the twain shall they meet. You know, they'll only meet mostly in passing, it would seem. So, like, until you know, they go to war with each other, it's kind of, I have a feeling especially like we were talking about earlier, I think most of this first half of this season is going to be nothing but standalone episodes in individual places. Because we haven't even seen the Hilltop, and we haven't seen what Heath and Tara were up to. Plus, you know, we've got to see how all of this leads to whatever chaos goes down in the mid-season.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm interested to see how Maggie's doing. You know, that's been my main thought. I'm really excited for her character because I think, you know, obviously she's going through a rough time now, but you saw a bit of it when she stood up after Negan left and she was talking to everybody about wanting to fight, that Maggie's not going anywhere and she's going to become stronger, and I'm really excited for her character this season. I hope we see a lot of Maggie this season.
I agree. Yeah, and I feel there's got to be some sort of bonding scene between her and Sasha in the coming episode, seeing as they both lost their men, and they've already had that connection before when, after she lost all the other men in her life, Maggie kind of helped bring her back. And now they're going to be, you know, dependent on each other to keep each other strong. So it's going to be interesting to see where they all go, because they've painted. I don't see how they're going to get. I mean, eventually they'll get around it, obviously, but they've painted Sasha as like this unlucky widow of death, or a widower, what have you. Because, like, every man in her life, not even just lover, but even just every man that has, like, a role in her life, has died. I mean, her brother Tyrese, her lover Bob, now what we were assuming the lover Abraham. Like she's just like the opposite of Good Luck Chuck. Is that because of that Dane Cook movie? I don't even know why. I never thought I'd be talking about Dane Cook on a Walking Dead wrap-up, but
there it is. So
yes, he got with a girl and then she'd marry the next man. Well, if you get with Sasha, you die, or if you're related, like it's weird how they're doing this, but hopefully they'll continue to build her thing.
Right, and poor Sasha, I mean, she's kind of broken down like 2 different times to where she's had to come back from it, and it's like, oh my gosh, will she just go straight to like being a badass now and wanting revenge, or will she sink into that hole again where, she kind of lashed out at the people that cared for her and kind of stuck to herself? Right. So I hope she can get through it, because her character reminds me of like Andrea in the comics. So I have high hopes for her. Man, she does not have good luck. That poor girl.
No, she is a loser in love right now.
Yeah.
I was kind of thinking it would be interesting if they're going to do art imitating life and have the character of Scott get with her, since obviously Scott's your husband in real life.
Yeah, that'd be cute.
If you think about it, Tara didn't really last that long either with her loves.
That's true. Yeah, and she still doesn't even know about Denise. Oh my gosh.
Still, yeah. It's been almost a full half season. We still haven't seen her reaction.
I know. Oh my gosh, ridiculous.
Yeah, it'll be like 5 or 6 episodes by the time she finds out, which is just insane, like an insanely long time to have. Like I said, most people had probably already forgotten about that death, and that death really doesn't make much sense to them. So I feel like it's gonna be such a throwaway scene now.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that. Because, I mean, I remember it, but now once they show it, that effect of, like, the sadness of losing Denise in such, like, a quick way, now that's gone. And now we're like, oh, yeah, she was dating that lady.
Yeah, and then they're going to be like, oh, yeah, well, that kind of sucked for her. I forgot about that, but that's still nothing compared to Glenn and Abraham.
Right, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, and Tara doesn't even know any of that shit went down. None of it.
Yeah, it's like, hey, welcome back, Tara. Well, the girl that you didn't say you loved her back, she's dead now. She was murdered.
Yeah.
And then Glenn and Abraham were murdered. And the same guy who murdered Glenn and Abraham, he took Daryl as well as prisoner. So, yeah. Right. Hope you've been having fun out there.
Right, welcome back. Welcome home.
Yeah, she's going to be like, what the hell? I leave for like 3 days, and what is this shit?
Right. I'd be like, I am leaving again. I'm out of here.
Yeah, she's like, well, shit, I'm not coming back next time. If I leave again, probably the whole thing will burn down.
I'm pretty nervous, though, for this next episode, because seeing Negan, seeing Alexandria, because you look at where he's living, and it's still kind of like, it looks like an old factory or something. So it's still kind of like grungy and, not the ideal place to live. He's going to get to Alexandria and see how they're living, and oh my gosh. If I were Negan, I'd almost kick them out. I'd be like, we're swapping living areas. You guys are going to go live at that fucking factory, and I'm going to live in these houses.
Yeah, it's like house swap. It's like one of those reality shows.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
Because I don't know if Negan would be willing to wife swap. He'd probably just wife take.
Right, I was just thinking that, like, a wife swap, but then Negan would end up just burning your face off at the end of it, and no one would win that one.
Yeah, like I said, it'd be wife take. He's just going to take half your shit. you're to get back to your house, and your wife's going to be gone, and you're going to be missing half the stuff in your house. You're like, what the hell?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's going to be so crazy.
I know, and I feel like with Wife Swap and everything, I feel like that's a good place to wrap up the wrap-up tonight.
Right. We'll leave everybody to their imagination. Picture that episode.
Yes. Maybe this episode might be like it. Maybe Ty Pennington or whatever his name is gonna be the host of this week's Walking Dead.
Oh my gosh. Surprise.
Yeah, maybe he's there with Negan. He's like, hey, Negan, look, here is Alexandria. Let's introduce you to the Alexandria now.
Oh, that'd be pretty funny. That'd be a pretty funny sketch, you know? Someone should do that. Hint, hint.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'd have to have time for that. That would take a lot.
Yeah, it really would. But it'd be worth it if you got it right.
I'd have to go to Sonoya to film that because I can't build sets that good.
Yeah, get to work, CJ. Jeez.
Dude, I couldn't even build like a wall, like of 2x4s, much less a metal wall. We'll be back on schedule next week with episode 4, talking about the super-sized episode where Negan comes to collect his shit.
Right. Oh my gosh, scared all over again.
Right.
We'll get through it together, though, like always.
We will.
So.
Yes, we will. We will do both our therapies. We'll get the Talking Dead therapy and then the Walking Dead wrap-up therapy. So you'll be therapied out by the end.
Yeah. Smooth sailing after.
Until the next episode, and then starts all over.
Right. We're used to it though, so we'll be fine.
Exactly.
Now it's only just begun. It's time to have a little fun. Nobody in the comments see why you should be on these.
All right, now we're going from The Walking Dead to obviously our interview with somebody who you saw on last night's episode of The Walking Dead. It's Mr. Jordan Woods Robinson, Blue Man, actor extraordinaire, singer, songwriter. He has a lot of job titles right now, and he does them all pretty amazingly well. And me and you, Dave, got to spend close to 2 hours talking with him. And so if there's nothing you'd like to further add, let's go ahead and get into that interview with him.
Well, he does a lot, and he's good at juggling it all together and keeping it, focused. And I would imagine with his background, he probably can juggle. We just didn't ask him. As you will hear, we talk about other things. And the reason why we talk along is because, he's so multi-talented. We're going to cover a lot about his music side of things and his band. I think we're going to hear a song, right?
Yes, his song, 6 1/4 Turns.
Okay. Someday he'll get to 7, I'm sure.
Hey, buddy.
Yo, how are you?
Good, man. Good to talk to you again. It's been a while.
Yeah, so you are you in sunny Florida?
I was just talking to CJ. I am away right now, so I'm not in sunny Florida currently.
Oh, is away meaning like you're locked up somewhere? What is it?
I am. I'm not in Florida.
All right. Well, there you go. Well, then I appreciate you taking time to chat with us.
Absolutely.
Not digging into too much of your away time.
No, not at all. This is wonderful. I love talking to you guys.
Oh, well, thanks.
So where are we at, Creech?
Oh, well, we were just chatting before you got on. We definitely want to, we can talk whatever you want to talk about with Walking Dead and whatnot, but we want to also promote his album, which actually just came out, was it 2 weeks ago, Jordan, the 29th of October?
Yeah, 28th, yep.
28th, yes, and it's doing phenomenally, I might add.
Well, then we don't need to talk about it. No, it's doing so well. We don't need to talk about it.
Let it die in the water.
Well, first of all, let's. How many albums have you done? What is this your very first one, full album, or have you released? How many have you released before?
This is the first full-length album of original songs. I did a bluegrass album when I was 16, but only one of those songs was original. And then last year I released a 5-song EP. But this one, Anthem, is 12 songs, all original, and the closest to my personal style of music.
So the previous 5 on the EP were not closest to your personal style? Why was there a differentiation there?
They were pop, or in my my version of pop, and I definitely don't. I hear everything with a very folk ear. I write on acoustic guitar or on violin, and those songs I had added extra treatments to in order to they're more like a Gavin DeGraw type thing where they were pop rock, and I enjoy that style. I enjoy listening to that style, but this new album, Anthem, is closer to the way that I just hear music, and it's closer to the original instrumentation that I imagine when I'm actually composing the stuff. Got it. And you wrote, and you said there's 12 songs on this one, on Anthem? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And did you write all the songs solo yourself, or what? How does all that work in the writing process? Yeah, it was. Some of them were all me. Some of them were a collaboration with my wife, who's also singing on it, and she is a lyricist and just another great creative mind. And so I collaborated with her on some, and then some of the songs I actually collaborated with my mom. Some of the songs are much older, and I've been writing them since I was 15 or 16 or so, and I've always been a composer, but not really a lyricist. And so she would write poetry, and she would write lyrics and hand them to me, and I would put them to music. And so some of the songs on the album were actually that, just started as her handing me some stanzas or, verses on a page, and then, through the musical evolution and over a couple decades, then they've turned into what's on the album now. I got it. And so going back, as you said, a couple decades, that was with your mom writing the poetry and stuff. But in terms of writing these 12 songs, has it been a long process because you've sort of collected them over the years? Or was it sort of like last September, say 1 year, was it something like, okay, now I got to write songs until I have a full album? Was it just a sort of like an ongoing process over the last year, or was this sort of like the 12 songs now finally came together, but say 5 or 6 of them have been around for a while, you just has never recorded them and stuff like that? Right. It's actually a little bit of both. So I actually came up with the album concept first, and that it was called Anthem. And I knew that all of the songs that I put together, I wanted to be anthemic. I wanted them to be very narrative, actually, and remind me of strong moments in my life or in my relationship with my wife. And so that allowed me to go back and kind of curate the album out of stuff that I'd already written, or out of stuff that I had started writing, or stuff that I had envisioned but hadn't written yet. And so that allowed me to put the tracks together and say, these are all cut from the same cloth. These are all fitting that mold that I want the album to represent. But then we actually started working in March of this year, which is 7 months ago, and that's when I took those songs that I knew were related, and that they were all anthemic to me. And then as we were recording and in the pre-production of it all, I went through and re-envisioned all of them. Some of them changed a lot, some of them didn't change at all. But I made sure to re-examine each of them and say, great, I think that they all belong next to each other, but now I need to reimagine them so that they sound like they should all be on the same album. And in the end, it's still very eclectic. It's still very jumping between genres, and that's why I ended up settling on alternative folk rock because I couldn't think of another way to explain the album. But there is also a very cohesive quality that does draw everything together, even if they aren't all the same genre necessarily. Right.
And then and as in terms of the musicians or the instrumentals on the album, what did you play on the album?
I played pretty much everything that's acoustic. I did acoustic guitar, violin, some cello, mandolin, and all of the male vocals. And then I collaborated with two other musicians who I work with at Blue Man Group. David Traver did all of the electric guitar, electric bass, and organs and piano. And Colin Robinson did all of the drums and percussion. And then my wife did all of the female vocals for the album. So it was the four of us, and we know each other, but we'd never played in a band together. And I recorded all the songs myself in my home studio, and sent the tracks out to Colin and David, and said, "Here you go." And we would communicate via email or text, or sometimes in person, but we were never in the same room when anyone was recording. It was always very very personal space, allowing a person to go into their studio and record whatever they think they needed to record in order to finish the song. And there were only a couple times where I had to go and say, "I like your idea, but I'm going to offer some direction." The rest of the time it was really just listening to their ideas and finding a way to adjust, to offer guidance or to adjust during the mixing process in order to allow for their tracks to tell the story that I was looking to tell.
Yeah, and in that process, and I think our listeners are really well-rounded and educated, and then there's some listeners that are just purely listening for the entertainment of it all, but we do have a lot of artists that listen to our show, and upcoming filmmakers and writers, and I'm sure a lot of musicians. I know a guy named Larry DeMeo out of Delaware. He I think his band's called Linus, but he listens to the show. He sent me some tracks of his stuff. And hi Larry, how are you, Larry? And Mike, so when you sent the tracks, did you cloud source the tracks and then in an email the project file, or did you cloud source everything, or did you send a little hard drive of everything? How did that work out? Yeah, so we actually, I've been doing this online collaboration stuff for about 5 years now with a lot of the same musicians and mixers. And over those 5 years, we've really honed our process to be able, we started off just emailing everything and just being like, "Hey, here's a song I wrote," and you send a mass email out to like 30 people and say, "Who wants to record on this?" And then, some people record and then send it back. And now we've actually evolved that process to, we have an online server that is, it's run through another company, but it's through a service called Basecamp. And and it's actually, it kind of allows us to have an online studio. That we still have to download the files to our personal computers in order to, put them into our DAWs and record there. But through Basecamp, we can upload files, we can leave comments, we can send direct messages to people, we can upload other files like charts or reference materials that we think are interesting. We can upload PDFs with lyrics, all of these different things, all of the information that we think is necessary in order to allow the other musicians and the other creative minds to be on the same page as us. And what's beautiful about the process is that regardless of how much information you provide and how specific you think you are, there's always going to be a different interpretation of it, which is wonderful because at the end of the day, the product that you think that you're going to get is always better than what it was in your mind, because you've just passed along, I just passed along my ideas so I'll say from a bass player standpoint, I'm not a bass player. I can envision what I think the bass line should be, and I can be as clear as possible explaining that to a bass player. But as a non-native bass player, I'm not going to have the best ideas that when the bass player hears it, they're inherently, it's just like breathing or like eating. They're going to hear better ideas than I would have in the first place, and they'll take my ideas and just magnify it and do it so effortlessly and in half the time that it would have taken me to lay down a bass part, and with mediocre quality, they can bang out something that is just perfect and do it in half the time. So it allows each of us to record on our own time. It allows each of us to record without any pressures of other people in the room waiting for their turn to record or anything like that. You can do it in your pajamas if you want to, and it just allows a much closer to a true collaborative process because the system relies on trusting each person to lay down what they think is going to be the best possible version of what they can offer.
Right. And then so at the end of the day, everything really comes back to you, and you have it all strung up on your software. What software do you work with?
I'm currently using Logic, and I have for the past couple of years.
And did the other guys all work with Logic too, or was it like, oh, I'm in Pro Tools or I'm in Cubase or whatever? I don't know what else is out there.
Yeah, Ableton, all that stuff. No, I think we're pretty split. I think two of us use Logic. The drummer uses Pro Tools, and then our mixer used Pro Tools as well. But the files that we're dealing with are WAV files, so they're uncompressed, they're raw, and they're universal. They can drop it into any DAW and work perfectly without losing any quality. So as long as we all record to the same click, then our tracks will line up no matter how many times you transfer them from one DAW to another.
Right. So basically you guys had it where you just dropped them in individually, or was there an EDL list or whatever they call that, where you can, or OM, I think in the audio one it's like OMH list? I don't know what they call that one.
Yeah. No, we just dealt with the just the straight files, and you just drop them in that way. But if Colin, my drummer, would, if the song had a very specific feel to it, or if there were a lot of drum parts, he would bounce down a reference mix. So he would go through and bounce down all of his drums as an MP3, and then you could just drop that into your system, as opposed to having to go through an EQ, each overhead and both snare mics and each tom, like he would just send a reference mix. And I would actually do that as well with my strings, because I would, on the album, I sometimes layer like 10 different violin parts. And rather than making each guy go through and, EQ those violin parts so that they can record, I would just say, here's a mix, and, then they just have one thing to drag in, and it makes everyone's life easier.
So he would mix his drums, like the 8 tracks of drums or whatever it is, and then create a stem, and then that's from that stem is what you would mix with, or you would then, but when you did your final mix, you had all his tracks.
Exactly. Work? Yeah. The final mix we sent off to Benjamin Allen Levy in Austin, Texas, who did just an incredible job with the whole album. So he had all of the original tracks and dealt in the original ways, and he had to go back through and piece together that massive puzzle of 60 tracks coming to him that he has to make sounds cohesive.
Oh my goodness!
But just for us, for the sake of recording and being able to play along with something that someone else has already recorded, that's when we would just bounce down the reference tracks, just to, because otherwise our job would, as musicians, our job at that point would stop being a musician, and we'd have to be an engineer for a little while in order to get everything lined up before we could record.
And were you giving Benjamin, here's song 1, here's song 5, here's song, like, it's not like, here's all 12 songs, or was it all 12 songs at once, or was it, as one got finished, you just gave it to him, so he also was sort of, kind of working along the way, getting the songs done?
So that's a great question. With this process, I actually waited until we had all 12 songs finished in the tracking. And that was because I needed to, the musicians needed to be able to hear all 12 songs and sit back and say, oh, okay, wait, let's go back to this song, and I need to add this part because, as I kept recording, my guitar got dirtier or something. So I need to go back to the song and I need to redo that part so that it syncs up with everything else, so that it sounds like everything else. And for the same purpose, we did that. I waited until we had all 12 songs done to send that to Benjamin because he needed to hear. Normally, if we were going into a brick and mortar studio, the engineer would be there and they would hear every song before they had to start mixing it. So they would have it in their heads. They would know what the final ultimate project was, as opposed to just hearing it one song at a time. So I waited until all 12 songs were done, and I gave them to Benjamin so that he could listen to them and hear that grander scale of what everything was before he started to mix. But then once we started to mix, I did also lead him on a specific path through those songs. I said, start with this one, and then we'll do this one next, and then we'll do that one next, so that I could introduce him to, the vibe of the band and to the arc that the album needed to go. And eventually, he's so fast. After 2 or 3 songs of me, holding his hand through it, he just flew through the rest because he was like, okay, I got you. I know where we are now. And then he really took the reins and ran with it. And the same with our mastering engineer, Danny Stapleton. The dude, I think I had 1 revision on the first track that he mastered, and then after that, he just nailed it. He just, he inherently understood it and got everything back to us perfectly the first time around. So I got really lucky working with some amazing engineers.
Awesome. So now, if people wanted to pick this up, where is Anthem available?
Best place as of this recording is, right now it's everywhere. I would prefer for people to go through my website just because that's it's a little bit easier for me to maintain. But if you go to jordanwoods-robinson.com, and then there's a music page and there's a shop where you can buy physical CDs, either signed or unsigned, and you can stream the music all from my website. And like I said, I said prefer because as an independent musician, I can set my own prices, and the prices are the same on my website, but I'm not paying a commission to, in order to sell them. I get to keep all of the profits. Whereas it's also available on iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, Apple Music. It's everywhere by now. But with each of those services, they take up to a third of your profits, and so that's neither here nor that's a conversation for another day. But I'd love
to me, I love getting. First of all, I love getting albums, but I love getting the actual physical CD. But I understand how people, out of convenience, it depends on what their setup is. They like to get all their stuff on their phone, and it's Bluetooth to their car, or they already have an iPod in their car, whatever it is. But some people are just digital connoisseurs, and maybe iTunes is already set up to be the easiest route for them. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So certainly.
Sure.
Because on something like iTunes, you can probably buy. Do you have to buy the whole album, or can you buy, like five songs, or they're all available at 99 cents or something like that, right?
Exactly. Yeah, iTunes you can buy singles as well. With each system, I have it set up that you can either buy the whole album or just buy singles from the album. Yeah, totally.
Got it. Well, that's exciting, dude. Well, congratulations
so
on that.
Man.
It's definitely an incredible album. I mean, I got to watch you perform it live after hearing it, in advance, and you had a very great crowd response, and I've heard a lot of great praise from it. Plus, it actually is charting right now, which is pretty fantastic.
Yeah, it's unreal. We're at number 5 regionally. And I don't know what regional means necessarily, but I'm guessing in the Southeast because that's where I'm located and where the concert was. Regionally we're charting at number 5 on Billboard, which is just awesome. And that's directly from the support that I've gotten so far. This was the album was completely crowdfunded, and so I had a lot of pre-orders, and then each person who came to the concert got a digital download of the album, and so all of that together, it's been super supportive. And like you said, CJ, this is my first time This is my first time playing as a frontman of a band on stage ever. That was my first concert. I played a lot of concerts. I played in a lot of bands. But never as like the main, like I'm right here center stage. I have to lead transitions between songs. I have to think about song order. I have to put all this together. Never done that before. And our band had never played live together because we recorded the whole dang thing from our various remote studios. And so everything all together, all considered, like it was an incredible response. The fans in the audience were just so giving, and it was just wonderful. So it was definitely a night to remember, and I'm so happy that experience plus the album doing well have led to this charting as well, which I'm trying to keep momentum up, see what happens.
Are there any new plans? Go ahead, Creech, sorry.
I was just going to say, plus Jordan came off like a total rock star, and I think Dave, I should send him some of the footage. I know he'd be proud. He's performed on stage with, what was it, Van Stone before?
Yeah.
Nice.
And you were rocking it, Jordan. Like it was pretty awesome.
Thanks, dude. I was sore.
Is there any? Have you cut together or posted any footage, or I guess maybe fans shot stuff with their iPhone? That's one thing I always hated when I toured was everyone. I guess it's good that you get your fans to post stuff with their phones, but you don't have control of it, and you're like, oh, that's such a terrible shot, or it's like, oh, like, that's like, I like controlling my image, and I was like, oh, all these, but then you have to just give it up going, that's the world we live in. People have phones, and so they're new lighters at the concerts, but have you seen stuff online of you, or have you posted any, like, live, from some of this live footage online?
I have, to echo that, there was a phenomenon of, I saw some great videos with great footage and great angles, and then just about every video cut off about halfway through the song when the person was like, oh, yes, okay, I've recorded this for my memory, and now I'm just going to put the phone down and, like, enjoy the rest of the song. And that happens so often in all the footage I've seen, which, I mean, stepping back and looking at it, I'm like, I enjoy that because that means that the person said, great, I'm going to stop this, and I'm just going to, like, sit here and enjoy the concert for a little while too, But there have been some great videos that have come out that I have shared on my Facebook and Twitter and other social media stuff, but I haven't gone through yet. I've been reaching out to some people and asking them to email me the video clips that they got and everything. And soon I want to go through and I want to kind of curate that a little bit and pick out some clips and maybe edit some stuff together to have on my website and my YouTube channel because it was a lot of fun, and so graciously, this was all hosted by Walker Stalker Convention. They gave us the room, and they said, we're not using it. You can have it for your concert. And so it was gorgeous. The technicians there were flawless. Everything sounded great. There was a huge lighting kit that was set up that I wasn't planning on, all in all, it was just a good concert, and so I'm very eager to go through and get the videos together to prove that it did in fact happen the way that I say it happened.
Yeah, that's another thing that we would do is we would see videos posted online, and I would just email those people going, hey, can you send me everything you have from your phone or whatever you shot? Send it to me so I can just have, because I'm cutting a documentary together of this band thing that I did, and I've been collecting that. And also when I see photos, when somebody posts 1 or 2 photos on Facebook, I kind of figure, well, hey, you might have 14 photos. Can you send all of them to me? Sometimes they'd be like, yeah, my phone was full, and I had to make I had to make them really small, like, like to lower the quality. I'm like, oh my God, this is like 16 kilobytes with this picture. I can't
Right.
But that would be fun. That's a funny idea for a video of like the person filming you with their cell phones, the different cell phones, but yet you see pop-up messages from their texts coming up as their own personal stuff, like during, and they're like, cut it together where it's like their actual, it's sort of like you see hands getting in there clearing it, like, no, or I got to answer this really quick, but you're still here, you playing, but it's sort of like the interactiveness of the rest of the audience is there and their personal lives happening also on the screen as they're shooting it.
Yeah.
A lot of people always they always have that phone sort of up and down versus turning it sideways, where it's more like a video camera. When you put it into the editing system, all of a sudden it's, wait, you shot it like you're holding your cell phone, so it's long ways, like vertical,
right.
So
as opposed to going into landscape. Yeah.
Right, exactly, which would be helpful to when you want to edit and go, okay, now I can drop this into an editing system and make it full screen versus, oh, what do I do here? Oh, when we got stuff like that, we would always piece it together like a kind of a Woodstocky sort of multi-frame it. You know what I mean? Like you sync up the moments so that there's multiple angles, and you would just have multiple frames going if somebody shot it the other way. So
right. Let's just go ahead and clear this up right now. Everybody listening to this, next time you shoot a video for the rest of your life, make sure that you're holding your camera like you would look at a TV. You don't hang your TV standing up on the wall. You hang it landscape mode, and that's how it needs to be. Okay, thanks, everyone. Bye.
So are there any future plans to get the band back together? Are you going to do, are you itching now to do maybe a small little mini tour, or, to support the album, or just to, when you guys get time to go, it's like, hey, let's go do 7 shows somewhere, or 12, or is there anything in the works to do more live shows?
Yeah, well, all of us are Orlandians, I suppose. And so we're definitely going to play a gig in Orlando coming up in the next couple weeks. I personally don't have definitely any short-term goals to do any tours or anything. However, this whole concert came about because Walker Stalker agreed to let us do that, so I'd love to talk to them again and see if, hey, maybe in some of the next couple cities we can, can I fly the band out and can we do another concert there? And yeah, I think eventually there would be, I would have a great interest in going out and doing some recording or doing some concerts and stuff, but right now between my filming schedule and between Blue Man Group and also having a wife and a family, that's where my priorities are lying right now, and then just being able to share my music and blast it out and eventually have maybe a little online concert or something is I'm very happy doing all of that right now.
Yeah, I kind of sense you're sort of busy. You have a very busy schedule. I mean, the family alone is already too busy as it is. So you're taking a break from Blue Man Group right now too, or like how does that schedule work with Blue Man Group?
I'm full-time at Blue Man, but they are a very wonderful company and very understanding that, the actors and the musicians and the crew are all creative people, and anytime we can get away to work on another creative project, that's only going to recharge our batteries and give us more excitement for coming back to working on the show. So they're very accepting of people going away and taking some time off in order to pursue other creative outlets. As long as it's a creative outlet, then they're like, great, we'll do our darndest to help make it work. So yeah, I've been very fortunate with them that they've in some situations they have bent over backwards in order to make sure that something could work for me. So it's been a really wonderful experience with them for sure.
Well, because if I went to go see a Blue Man Group show today, where there's multiple Blue Man Groups now all over the place, right?
Yeah.
How many is it a set thing that there's 3 guys, 4 guys? Like, or can there be 10 blue men in a show? Like how does that work?
No, there's definitely always 3 guys in the show, and there are, each city has multiple actors that play the role, but the character is always seen in groups of 3. And yeah, we have 5 cities in the U.S. right now. We have Boston, New York, Chicago, Vegas, and Orlando. And each cast has about 5 to 7 guys, I think. I think 6 is pretty much the average. And the show is just awesome. It does change a little bit night to night, but basically we're following a script that's in our heads, and the audience never has exact information as to what that script is in our heads, and it's actually much more dire circumstance than the audience might be led to believe, because it's a comedy show. It's a comedy show with rock music, and with multimedia and with a dance party, and so on the surface it is just a fun time and a way to let go of the stuff that was bothering you during the day, and just to get away and be primally exuberant for an hour and 45 minutes. But for the Blue Man and for the band, there's actually a very clear story that we're telling, and so it relies on these 3 Blue Men and these number of band members telling that story every night.
Right. And how did you get involved with the Blue Man Group?
I went to theater school in New York at New York University, and the Blue Man Theater is in Astor Place on Lafayette, and the Blue Man Theater shares a wall with the studio that I went to, and so I actually got introduced to Blue Man Group by a good friend of mine before college, and so I saw it maybe when I was 15 or so. No, I was 16 or 17, I guess. And instantly fell in love with it, wanted to be a part of it. I was like, that's, sometimes when you see something, sometimes you just inherently understand it, and it tugs at a heartstring, or it stirs something inside you that is more exciting than something else. And that was Blue Man Group for me. And so I actually, went to school, and while I was in school, I watched the show many times and set it as my 5-year goal, and I was like, when I graduate, within 5 years, I'm going to be doing that show. And as it turns out, when I graduated, I was in training for the show in about 3 weeks, and the rest is history. I've been doing it ever since. But yeah, it was basically just I'm stubborn enough that I said that's what I want to do, and so I made it happen with the help of Blue Man Group being willing enough to bring me in.
That's very cool. Very cool. I've got a question for you because you brought up instruments. I don't know if I've ever heard the right answer, but is a piano a string instrument or a percussion instrument?
I've always heard of it as a percussion instrument because the way that the sound is made is by a hammer on a string. But I suppose, yeah, no, I'm going to stick with percussion. Because it's just like a hammer dulcimer, like a hammer dulcimer would be a percussion instrument as well, and that's basically just a manual version of a piano.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to ask me what was the difference between a fiddle and a violin.
What is the difference between the fiddle and violin besides the devil? Well, I guess the devil is only dealing with a fiddle.
The devil lives in the fiddle. Yeah. No one has a real answer to that. They're built the same. It's the same instrument. But for me, it really comes down to the genre of music that you play. And my personal definition is if you play jazz or classical, it's a violin, and anything else is a fiddle. That's just me.
Mainly country.
I think if you're fiddling around, then it's a fiddle. It's like it's like you're fiddling around on it. And if you're playing the longer sort of, you look at like the orchestras and stuff, and it's, they do the long things, and it's dun, 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 and it's their arms are very succinct with the conductor in a sense, you know what I mean? Where the fiddle guy is like a solo dude in a sense, like going. So.
Yeah, I could be wrong, and I probably am wrong, but I don't know. Fiddle sounds like it's a Southern word, so I'm sure probably a long time ago they were doing, country or they also use a fiddle for bluegrass, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure they're like, go bring one of them fiddle things over, and I'm pretty sure that may be like the origin right there of that.
Well, it sounds like a slang word, and it sounds like, well, what do you want me to play? It's like, I don't know, just fiddle around on that. So,
right. No, but I am definitely a fiddle player. I am not a violinist. I am 100% a fiddle player.
It would be funny if there was, a guy named Steve Fiddle in the year, 1746, and he invented the fiddle. It was very close to a violin, and he just kind of like, well, I can't really make these like on a large scale, so why don't we just buy a bunch of violins and I'll just claim they're the fiddle? It's like
right. I'll just put a new sticker on them. Yeah.
Yeah. Fiddle. That's cool. Yeah, I have to check out your album, and everyone. It's called Anthem. It's available on Jordan's website, but also iTunes, Amazon, Apple Music, as he said.
Yeah. One of the interesting things about his album is sometimes you'll get and some albums they'll have like a recurring theme throughout, but to me, when I listen to it, like almost every song seems different in a style, but it still all interconnects. It's like, I don't know, the Pulp Fiction of albums, but it's amazing. I enjoyed it because it wasn't like, because sometimes you'll hear like the same musical cues in each song and in an album, but they're musically pretty different when you listen to them, and it's like it feels like it's a compilation of like greatest hits. But I enjoyed it, and I feel like it came off really well.
Awesome. Thanks, CJ. Yeah, that's a great. I'm going to write that one down. A Pulp Fiction of an album. That's really cool. Yeah, it's and that's how I feel about it too. And you know what? We've actually, honestly, we faced a little bit of a struggle with that of like trying to get people to review the album because they listen to it and they're like, man, I really like the music, but I don't know what to classify this. I don't know how to talk about it, so I'm going to pass. And it's like, so it's a double-edged sword, and that I told the story I wanted to tell, and yeah, that common through line is not necessarily the genre of the music, but the heart and emotion behind the music and the stories that they're telling are all from the same voice and the same voices. And it's really like that's it. They're my stories, and they're my stories with my wife, and that's it. That's the through line. And so it is. It's kind of the greatest stories of us, and so that's cool to hear that came through for you.
Hey, going back to your live show, and I wouldn't say, since you thought of it as a one and done, but it was your first show and you're promoting the album. Putting the set list together for that show, was it just basically, well, we're just going to follow the order of the album, or and did you have time to play all 12 songs, or did you play 9 of the songs or 8, or how did that work?
Yeah, that was actually a very interesting thing for me too, because I'm listening to me as that creative person, I was very aware that the energy of listening to the songs flow from one thing into another on an album, where I can like be in control of the listening environment and everything, that energy is not necessarily going to work for a live setting where we're all, we're now 600 people are all listening to it together, and there won't be any pausing, there won't be any like stepping out of the car to go get groceries and then come back. You're like, this is it. We're doing the marathon right now. And so I did step back and think about it in a different way of continuing that energy when we're playing live versus when I'm trying to tell a story, and so we moved some things around. We got to 11 of the songs on the album. I only left one out because it was vocally more taxing. I'm not a singer. I'm really not. I can sing my stuff, but I'm not. I can't. I'm not a trained singer, and so I left one song out because it was taxing on my voice, and I didn't want to stress myself out while I was playing it live. But I was able to bring in some other tracks from other CDs that I've released, and we did a special Walking Dead themed track that was just for the concert and a big surprise to everyone. So I think all in all we played 15 or 16 songs, and we went. I think we must have gone an hour and a half. I lost track of time, but.
And this performance was before the premiere of the season, right?
It was just after.
Oh, just after. Okay. It'd be It would, if it was before the premiere and this is a Walking Dead theme song and it's like Glenn gets killed, and so does Abraham. Like, whoa, what? The big spoiler alert guy.
It was funny enough. It was right after the season premiere, and the song was about Negan, and I'd been planning it for a while, and I was like, oh, this is going to be so funny. This is going to be a crowd pleaser. This is going to be huge. And then after the season premiere, I was like, oh, my God, I can't do this song. Like, I hate Negan. Everyone else hates Negan. I'm not going to, the wound is too fresh. I'm not going to bring this up. But then as we got closer to the, that aired on Sunday, and then the concert was on Friday, and I just kept being aware of it. I was like, no, I think it's cleared enough. And when all was said and done, the song was like the most popular of the evening. Everyone flipped out, huge, screaming and applause, and it was all I heard about for the rest of the weekend. It was like, oh my God, I can't believe you did that song. That was amazing. So I'm glad we did it. But yeah, it very easily could have turned into me giving away spoilers inadvertently and not realizing it. But no, we were good. We were spoiler-free.
Yeah. I personally didn't come off that premiere hating Negan. I just felt so, like family members died when Glenn and Abraham went the way they, especially how Glenn went. It was like, because it was obviously more visually, they sort of like upped it. From Abraham was more like a who shot JR moment of who's going to get it. Oh, no way, no fucking way. And then it was like, oh, we're going to up it here and show you another one, and then it's really going to be heart-tugging and emotional. He's going to be suffering, and you've got Maggie who's carrying his kid and blah, blah, blah. And obviously he's from the episode 1 or whatever, episode 2 probably or whatever, but it's like, I'm hoping that, I like, obviously part of the allure of the show is anyone can go at any moment. But at the same time, television has a history, and that's changed, obviously, over the last, say, 10 years, where all of these shows are now, there's a lot of shows, you can name at least 15, that sort of rely on the fact that part of the allure is anybody can be taken off this show at any time, whether that's a Breaking Bad or the 100 or,
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, House of Cards. No one's safe. I guess Kevin Spacey's safe on House of Cards, but I wouldn't say
maybe
White is safe. He might not be safe.
Right.
Who knows? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the bottom line is now it's sort of, I wouldn't say it's the norm, but it's accepted that ensemble cast regulars are sort of always dangling in the wind of he could be gone in episode 5 or 6 or, next year.
Yeah.
Whereas like the old days, say like Rawhide or Little House on the Prairie or MASH. I mean, I know there's MASH characters that left the show and then they died, or they died to get written out of the show. But that was, you knew that was coming ahead of time, where it would be announced like, hey, this guy's leaving the show next season, because that show was on for so long,
Right.
But but part of the thing that has made television work for 75 years or 80 or however long it's been around is people invite these characters in this world into their living room, and it becomes a part of their life. But there's a little stability that people like, going, you know what, I like this cast, and I just want to, I'm cool watching this cast for the next 5 years, even though they're fighting zombies and Negan. Like I think I felt like somewhere about a season and a half ago, like I guess when they got to Alexandria, and it thinned the herd a little bit there, because there were new people, and it was like, okay, we don't need all these new people, but I was just like thinking like, I don't need to see anybody that we follow. Like when Noah died too, it's kind of like at the point where I was like, I'm cool with watching these guys for the next 5 years, and just, let's just watch stories but they, I don't know if we need, I don't need to see any family members die anymore, it's like we get that side of the world, the journey to this moment, but from what I understand from the comics is they don't really leave Alexandria, so I almost feel like, I would love for the viewer to be able to settle in and just say, hey, for the next run, however much longer it goes, 4 or 5 years, that's probably up to, Andrew Lincoln and Norman Reedus at some point. They are humans. They gotta do something else in their lives too. So I can't see them wanting to die playing these characters. Like in terms of being 75 and still riding a motorcycle and a crossbow.
Well, yeah. So two things on that. One, I know that Stephen. Well, I don't know from personal experience, but I have read that Stephen went up to Scott Gimple and Greg Nicotero and said, like, look, that's how Glenn dies in the comics, and that is how Glenn is going to die in the show. I want that. Don't give that death away to anyone else. Like, that is mine. I'm claiming it. And he wanted it to be true to the story and to the graphic novel. And in the end, I'm so glad that he did, because that everyone that has read the novels would have, if that had been anybody else, then there probably would have been even more uprising or something, or it just wouldn't have landed, But what you said about like the not wanting to see more people die, and also just feeling like he'd lost people and all that. It's lost family. Like, the main thing for me is that I've heard people say that, the show went too far with these 2 deaths and the show was too graphic. And what I took away from it is that level of violence and that level of graphic nature is the first time that I've heard our audience, the Walking Dead audience, say that they were shocked about something or turned off about something in a long time, which means that we've reached that level where we have to go to that extreme in order to surprise people, and we have to, we not only have to keep it secret, but we have to make it so brutal once it happens that that's the only way that we can surprise our audience, which is mind-boggling to me. With all
it's, you got your P.T. Barnum aspect of always upping the ante in the show, so it's like you can't go back. You always have to go.
Yeah. What's going to happen next time?
Further, so
next time we need to surprise our audience, what is that going to entail? Like, it's wild, and I think that says a lot about just what we're watching and how I don't know. I'm getting a little more ranty about it.
Well, I kind of see that as like Robert and who's the director that is it Nicotero?
Greg Nicotero, yeah.
Yeah, Greg. I'm not going to say their minds are sadistic, but like as guys that are need to be ahead of the show, you know what I mean, in their thoughts and stuff like that, because they're creating it and directing it and making it. It's kind of funny, even though we're only up to episode. Creech and I watching episode 3, I guess it was this weekend of this season. Their heads are much further because they're already, well into this season shooting. I don't know how much is left to shoot, but at the same time, they got to be thinking about next season, and it's sort of like think about all the idea boards of, well, how am I going to kill this guy? Like he's going to die at some point, but wait a second, we got to make it memorable. We got to make it, and it's like. But they can't like physically put it up on a board where someone can see, so it's in their head, or it's like on like napkins at their house, going like or notebooks. You know what I mean? Of like here's 5 different versions I've came up with. You know what I mean? It's sort of like, like what you don't, you know, what you see on screen, it's like, think of how many sort of like choose your own adventure ideas that they've gone down with each person getting killed, you know, and how they're going to do it, and what the ripple effect is of if that person dies. Well, wait a second, if that person dies, then what's the ripple effect? Where do all these, you know, it affects every character anyway. So
and I think all of those ripple effects are constantly changing. But I think you're right that all of the major milestones are mapped out years in advance. Like I know that their decision with Glenn and Abe, that, you know, they made that decision like 2 years ago, I think they said, or at least a year and a half ago, before they filmed it. And so, that stuff they set in place, and then everything else just kind of falls into place of, well, I mean, it's just like I was just talking about my 5-year goal, you know, like when you set a definite milestone on the horizon, then all of your decisions or all of the questions that are presented kind of answer themselves, because you say, okay, well, what do I need to do in order to get to that goal? Okay, well, then I need to go down this path. I need to, you know, and it all just kind of works itself out as you're working toward that bigger goal. And so, but yeah, I also know firsthand of some other smaller decisions or other plot lines that were scripted and that they were going to go down, and then either last minute or before then, you know, they changed, and that's kind of a part of the awesome nature of the show too. You know, they're so aware of the story, and they're so aware of how many different things they could be focused on, that they're just constantly working to tell the best story they can, and sometimes that means sacrificing one idea in order to allow for another idea to pop up.
Right. Speaking of that cliffhanger / season 6 and 7, I thought it was pretty impressive that they were able to keep it quiet. I mean, because as we know, I mean, you could search off the internet, and Walking Dead's usually plagued with spoilers. And like sites like Spoiling Dead fans and stuff like that, who go to the extent of watching people leaving the actual locations to see who was filming. But they were actually able to keep that under wraps, especially considering that they wound up actually filming it at the end of season 6, which was my suspicion all along. I do want to say, but then Cudlitz tricked me when me and Dave interviewed him earlier this year, right after. But
we interviewed him at the end of the day after the final episode.
Oh wow!
And he said, what did he say, Creech? At that point, he said, we didn't film. We got to go back and film.
Yeah, he's like, we don't know who's got it, so we're all going there. But in truth, you know, he actually already filmed his death scene, which is, I mean, I've only acted in one movie, Strip Club Massacre, cheap plug. But I was thinking about it, like after Cudlitz talked, I was like, it just seems like something that they would film that around the same time, because the performances that they all pulled off in that scene, I was like, that would be really hard to duplicate that, I would imagine, as an actor, especially to get in that mindset, you know, twice, months apart. Yeah. So I was like, they had to have filmed that.
Yeah, and he did tip it, because he mentioned how long they were out in that one location, and so it was like, well, wait, how could you, because about the coldness, he says, so cold, we were out there for, I forget, I thought he said, I don't know why.
I think he said a week of 14-hour shoots.
Yeah, something like that. And then at the same time, you know, you have all those cast members, all the extras and the cast members, the crew, the light, you know, the Winnebago, the sets and stuff. But at the same time, you never know what's going to happen. So if you already have that there, the amortization to shoot, it's cheaper. It works out to be cheaper for production to get the rest of that scene shot. You know what I mean? So. And people matching and stuff, and you know, you never know who might hold out and leave, you know, and say, hey, I'm not coming back next season. And they bone, because they would put the production in a sort of bind if somebody said, hey, guess what? I know you need to shoot that now, and I'm in that scene. I'm not coming back. You know, I want to renegotiate my contract. So, yeah, there's a lot of things that reasons why they definitely, it should have been obvious that they did shoot it already. So
Yeah.
And I do want to ask Gordon, when did you find out? I mean, because I know, obviously you've been on the show and you probably heard from maybe some of the actors. I'm assuming it wasn't a shock to you when the episode aired who got it.
I had my suspicions, but like even on set, everyone did an amazing job of not talking about it. Cast and crew, they still, even though they're surrounded by other people who've signed all these non-disclosures and everything, they still kept it to themselves. And I think part of that was emotional, not really wanting to talk about it, and the other part was just out of respect for the story and the characters and the actors who had laid their souls out on the line to make sure that moment had the brevity it needed to have. People just kind of gave it some space. But in season 7, I came on and started working. My first episode is 704. And I remember coming on the set and kind of putting together context clues, I guess. I read some clues from the script. It didn't directly say, but I started forming some conclusions, and then but I did not know definitively until I watched the episode live along with the rest of the world.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But you did tip a little bit. So you're in this week's episode coming up, obviously, because we saw that the little teaser that he's showing up to collect his rent, I guess you'd say, the embargo or whatever you want to go, the embezzlement. So then you're in this episode, right? And that's what it sounds like. You said 704.
Yeah, 704 was my first time on set, and it was really interesting that the tension was palpable. I mean, the cast and crew have always done an amazing job of being, in between takes. They kind of, when we break, we stop, we allow things to be funny again. We allow ourselves to be human and enjoying life again and enjoying being near each other. But on this episode, it was my first time. It's back in Alexandria, and it was just taut. It was just there was no escaping from that feeling the entire time. Even when director called cut, it was still just tense and silent, and people just kind of like going through the motions in order to get the next setup, and then we'd start filming again, and I remember that sticking out a lot, and it's gotten better since then. But that was really the first time when everyone was back together since Abe and Glenn had died, and so it was all of us definitely still working through stuff, and that was pretty wild to be there for that.
Yeah. And I heard Negan's got a crush on you, and he wants half of you. So, I don't know which half.
Me or Olivia?
Who knows? Negan's a thirsty guy. Let's just put it this way. He's got a big belly.
Got a vampire bat.
Yeah, he's vivacious, I guess is the word. I don't know if that is the right word. If that's a word at all. Vivacious. I just thought of this idea where we were talking like how everyone's always like, I'm Negan, that's in his camp, and they have to basically say they're Negan, like he's trying to get Daryl to say he's Negan, you know what I mean?
Right.
What if, because there's so many people they come across, my cousin's name is Negan, but it's a female, first of all, but we pronounce it Negan, not Negan. Remember, I was like, is it Negan or Negan? And, but it would just be so funny where it's like, you and you, yeah, and we've got you now. Everything's that was yours is now Negan's, right? And he goes, well, yeah, that's my name, Negan. You know, no. It can't be Negan. You know what I mean? And so he's like, right. There is a guy named Negan, and when they go, I'm Negan. He's like, I'm Negan. I'm actually in Negan. And it's like, this is all Negan. He's like, you talking about me or him? It's like, him, the mean Negan. You're the kind of nice Negan that just got away. You didn't have to be brainwashed because your name's really Negan. You know, we didn't realize that at first. You kept saying I'm Negan. We thought you were in on this. No, I'm really Negan.
Yeah. It's like when you give a toddler a book that's called My Book, and you're like, hey, this is my book, and they're like, no, it's my book, and yeah, that's what I said, it's my book. No, it's my book. Yeah, no, I'm agreeing with you. It's my book. No.
Hey, somebody just did that to me the other day. They just gave me that book. What do you mean, toddler? I have troubles with that My Book thing still to this day. Still don't get it. What are you trying to say? Well, hopefully you'll make it through another season. Let me ask you a question about that. How is it working on a show? And you've had a good run so far with the most popular show in the world. But as an actor, you know, to get that script, you could be every script you get, you know, somewhere on one of those pages, all of a sudden you could be the one getting it. You know what I mean? So each time you get that script, you kind of like, you know, are you kind of breezing through quickly, going, wait a second? Or I guess, do they tell people, the ones that are going to get it? Do they sort of they don't just email a script or send a script being like, here's your blue side, here's the, you know, revision 6, you know, for everyone? Do you think
my understanding is there is a call that is placed to an actor or actress in advance to the script coming out, so that there are no surprises. You know, and that's just out of courtesy to that person, because that'd be kind of rough to not know until you're reading the script along with the rest of the cast, and then they go, oh, you haven't read it yet? Oh, you know. But I do also think that many of those actors and actresses do still keep that information to themselves until the script does come out, so that at least they're not surprised, but it allows other people to have that initial gut-wrenching feeling of, oh my gosh, I'm about to lose my friend, you know, and that's important for us to feel as actors as well, I think, because, you know, after recreating the scenes 20 times in an afternoon, you know, you have to be able to remember that first moment when you found out that your friend was going to die, or that, you know, or that you were going to die, or however it works out. And that's important to remember how you felt right then, and so that, a lot of people just allow everyone to find it on their own.
I did a film recently. Can't say what it is, right, Creech? I might be ruining this for whatever 15 listeners are listening that are like, oh, I'm going to go see whatever film he's talking about that he can't mention. But it's a horror movie, and the director, you know, wrote the role for me. When he called me, he said, I wrote this role for you. It's great. It's perfect for you. I'm sending it to you now. Sign this NDA first, and I'll send it to you, and then call me after you know, if you want, you know, if you can do it. I said, no, I'm in. I'm already in. And but then I did get the script, and I just jumped right to my character, and I read like the first 2 scenes, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. It is my voice. Okay, this is great. And so I called him. I said, dude, this is going to be great. Blah, blah. And he goes, all right, well, we're going to have a table read, you know, maybe like, I think it was like 3 weeks from then. And I was fairly busy, so I didn't read the rest of the script, right? And I'm a slow reader. And he said, on the pitch, so he goes, you're going to love it because you become the lead and you're the hero at the end. You're the hero. And so I'm like, okay, I guess I don't die. And I did want to read it before the table read, so I was trying to cram, and I didn't get all the way. So if the script is 100 pages, I got to like 75. And then the rest of me was going, well, wait a second, it's a table read. All these actors are going to be reading their characters. This will be great. I'll just read along, the script as we read it, and it'll be even more refreshing just to like listening to a play, like a radio play. And so we're doing it, and they actually had a camera rolling, like they roll a camera at the table read so they can go back and watch it and listen to it or whatever. And basically the ending, I am the hero, but I literally die at the very, very end, like the last sentence of the movie is me getting killed, right? And it was completely out of left field for me. Everyone else probably read the script, right? But I'm reading it, and there's my, there's 3 more dialogue lines, and as I get there, then I die, and it cuts off. The movie cuts. It cuts The Sopranos. You know what I mean? It's just like a boom. So that also is a weird, jarring ending, but also the fact that it was me just getting killed, and he told me I was the hero, and the reaction from me going like, holy shit, I die, right? Like, if I actually said that out loud, I go, fuck, I thought you said I was a hero, right? And everyone, because I'm a comedian, everyone laughed thinking it was just like my brilliant timing of it all. Like, yeah, of course he knew he died. He read the script, and I was like, fuck, I didn't know I died. And everyone was like, oh, stop, Dave, stop. You're killing us. I was like, yeah.
That's awesome. Let's see that movie now.
Yeah, well,
I've been trying to figure out what it is for the longest time, and I have not guessed it correctly yet.
I can't give any more hints, too, because I actually gave a hint to another pretty big-name director-writer who I was working on a script with, and he said, what are you working on? I said, I can't tell you. It's NDA, blah, blah, blah. I shot this guy. I go, I just left this set. And he goes, what are you doing? I go, I can't say NDA. And then I gave him, I said, they don't want to mention it because they want to spring it on the fans because of this, this, and this. And I gave him a couple reasons why they're marketing it that way. And he goes, let me see if I can guess. And other people have tried to guess, and he instantly got it, right? And I was like,
oh,
what?
my God.
I go, how did you know that? And he said, I listened to that writer-director's podcast. And he goes, he's mentioned that he had something planned for et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, oh, my God, so I got to be careful because I'm like, oh, wait, people can put it together via, what other people have said.
Wow.
So, it's really not that big of a deal, but I got to respect it, even though I'm still chatting about it. Look,
absolutely.
I signed an NDA. I can talk about the NDA, though, right?
Yeah. You can say that you're not allowed to talk about it.
Exactly. Well, that's awesome, dude. Yeah, one of the things, going back to the music, just to, for since you've never really gone extended touring with your band, or have you toured extensively with other bands, though?
No. I mean, as a fiddle player, I've stepped in and I've done, gigs with people and done short little 3-day, couple city tours and stuff. But the closest is with Blue Man Group. I did a cruise ship for 4 months, but no, I have not done the Pound the Pavement touring gig.
I would, because as a singer-songwriter and as a songwriter, I'm calling you a singer-songwriter. I'm not. I write crap. This is something I discovered while doing the band was my friends and I, we just wanted to make an album, right? And so we recorded a rock album. It was 12 songs, and I knew people in the music business, and I was like, hey, we want to get this album out. And the few A&R guys at the major labels were like, oh, well, do you play live? And I was like, no, but we will. We'll play and support this. The guy goes, well, we can't put this. We need to see you play live. I have no doubt you would be great as a live performer. I have no doubt you guys are good musicians, but we want to go and see the reaction of the audience. That helps us gauge by seeing the reactions of the audience. So So then we had to like rehearse for 6 months to just go start to do the shows, and that's when at first I thought he wanted to see us perform, and then he gets there and he goes, no, I pay attention to the audience. I don't even listen to you guys, or he listens, but he's like, I can watch videos of you guys. I'm there to like stand on the side and watch the people, watch the interactions, see what they're like, look at the lines outside, see how many people are buying merch from you. Like there's a lot that goes into the and nowadays they have an easier. This was prior to even MySpace and stuff like that. So with all these internet stuff and hits and stuff on music videos, now they can gauge audience interaction just based off of social presence, social networking presence and stuff like that, followers and hits and all that other stuff. Like that's all part of their, whatever you want to call it, their, how they figure it out, the mathematics of it all. However, so we recorded that album, and we put that album out, and then we were touring, and we had a lot of fans, and so we're like, well, we got to do a second album. But because we were playing so much, it wasn't like, let's stop for 3 months and write more songs. So we would write one song here, one song there, and just put them up on stage. You know what I mean? So the second album was actually written while touring. And it was written and sort of like manipulated live on stage in the sense of the feedback from the audience helped us with, let's speed this song up some. Hey, it's too long. Let's cut a whole verse.
Right.
Or the bass player would discover something on one show. And we were like, hey, dude, that was cool when you did that. That just happened because the guitar got unplugged. And we were like, hey, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
We went into, because we were sort of sticky anyway, but and there was theatrics, but so the thing is, by the time we went and recorded the second album, now we were going into the studio recording another 12 songs that we've actually been playing live for a year, and actually slowly sort of tighten them up and hone them on stage, where we actually could we still recorded in a very traditional manner. But if we were in a studio that really allowed us to be completely isolated, where we could just record it live, you know what I mean? Like we could have just laid it all down, but we did separate, okay, you're going to lay your bass now again, and, go in and layer some guitars and stuff like that. But it was a different experience, and those songs came out more organic. There was something more sort of, I don't know what it is. They were all a little bit more catchy, but there was just something that sounded more balanced about them all, because in a weird way, they were all written with an audience, and and we knew which ones to toss out too. It's like, that one's not really clicking. This one people are loving, you know what I mean? So great.
Yeah.
So that was the other thing. So
that's a wonderful insight, and it's so true that, I'm kind of going about this backwards, like so many bands. A stand-up comedian wouldn't record their whole album in a studio and then go start performing it live in front of an audience. You have to workshop it. You have to make sure that, everything is exactly how you think it needs to be, and then you go and lay down what you found, and then enhance it in the studio. So, I completely agree with you. And the other part of that is, you want to be able, especially now where all of your audience is online, it is through social media or through your website or through your newsletter or whatever. Like, you're playing live. It's your opportunity to bring it back down into, I know a person who calls it meat space. They'll bring it down into meat space where we can now all be in the same room together, and you can go buy someone a drink after the show, and you can give them a hug, and you can hand them a CD. Like, that's vital. And yeah, I am aware that I'm skipping over that step or making that step lower priority for right now, but it is something
I know you
I want to get to.
Yeah, exactly. Look, you have your life. I was keying you in on that. As an artist, it would be something that you would go, I'm glad I did that. You know what I mean? Like, this was a different type of writing, a different type of a way to write the songs. Like, hey, we did this one where I wrote them, we sent things around, and now it's like, oh, wait, this one we put up songs live you know, a new one every show or, you know, every other show as it came, and then we got response on it, and we also tightened it up. And it was a different – I never saw it coming is what I'm saying. I didn't see it coming. I didn't see enjoy it, like how much I would enjoy that way of crafting songs, you know, because the other one was very standard of, hey, I have some ideas, and this is the lick, and here's the bridge, you know, and okay, let's get in a rehearsal studio. And I used to do that other stuff, too, like you're talking about with, like, sending the tracks. And the old days were, like, we all had, like, 8 tracks or 4 tracks, and we actually just used to send the actual cassette tape. You know what I mean? Like, all right, I did the guitars. I'm sending you the, you know, there's a click track on there. Get rid of that, and you have to bounce all that over for you have to do the drums, and you have to bounce those drums. You know what I mean? Everyone would have to bounce everything.
Yeah.
There's only 4 tracks, you know, on
yeah.
a regular cassette. Remember, it was like those Tascam 4 tracks. So,
yep, it's pretty wild.
My age here.
Can we also briefly mention that? I mean, I know you've heard the intro, Dave. I know you usually don't listen to the show after it airs because, you know, you lived it, as you say. But Jordan does our intro, and he's ever since episode 1, and he did a fantastic job. And honestly, if you listen to a song 6 1/4 turns, I believe that the intro kind of has that same type of flair a little bit because, like, he sent me a file of like a bunch of different takes of doing the intro, and actually when I first heard 6 1/4 turns, I was like, I know that version of how you do it. That's the exact one I want to use.
I knew that Jordan was the announcer, like did the recorded, but did you do the music for our intro?
No, he didn't do the music.
Got it.
No, but he did he did the announcing.
Yes, got it.
No, but we can talk about that if you guys want to, you know, borrow some of my music from Anthem to use as some transition music and stuff. Then you just let me know, yo.
Well, my thing is this.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you know, it's up to you, and we can edit this right out right now if you say no. But would you be down for us to play a track on this episode? And you know.
Yeah, we've been talking about 6 1/4 turns. You wanna play that?
Absolutely.
Good. Here it is right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? A twisted tale I tell with the greatest of ease. Something fun here for everyone to see. Don't be afraid to follow down the rabbit hole. Admission is free.
6 1/4 turns, she fell. It's just like looking down Beelzebub's well. Please don't be leading me to hell. She stared into his face, taking the tick-tock of his clothes off the brace. Better change the pace. Down and down the rabbit hole she goes. Where she lands, the moon breath only knows.
We made history, though. We made history. This is the first time I heard a song without actually hearing it. It was pretty awesome. I can't act like I don't want to be fake. I'm like, that was amazing. You know, at least when we had Corey Feldman on. You remember that, Creech? And we played his song, and at least I got to hear his song first, where I can go like, hey, that was I don't. So. All right, so we're gonna play 6 1/4 turn, which we just played. Now I have to go check it out. So
cool.
I have to go buy.
I'll get it over to you. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Send me. Creech. Make sure he has my email so he can send me a link to the song so I can check it out.
Yeah, I can do that. And also, speaking of Corey Feldman, I'm hoping Jordan has a way better. I mean, personally, I think he already has a great public display of his music, but, you know, the song that he premiered on our podcast, Go For It, once it went national on the Today Show was kind of crazy.
Right, yeah. I know he got some opinions coming his way about that performance.
But we should be seeing Jordan on the Today Show.
He performed that song on the Today Show?
Yeah. I forgot. You're not plugged into everything. Yes, Dave.
I don't have Jordan. I don't own a TV. I don't have TV, and
good.
You know, I watch Walking Dead. I always have to watch it a day after I see it online. So but I don't own a TV.
We own a TV, but we don't have cable. So yeah, we watch Netflix and Amazon and stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. But I use my brother's cable subscription thing on my iPad. It's like I log into his thing to watch everything. But so that's hilarious that he performed with his angels. He performed with his angels.
He did. And what I will say is that there was a difference between live and what was what we heard. However, I still thought he did a very good job. But a lot of America disagreed and started bullying him. Even though his video quickly became the most...
Yeah, Corey gets that, by the way. You know, and that's the thing is, and Jordan knows this, Creech, you know this too, and I'm certainly aware of it, that there's more people that want to get on and say negative things online. That's just the way it is. You look at even product reviews and stuff, if you're not happy with the product, you tend to go, I'm going to say something about this, but if you get a product and it works the way it's supposed to work, there's not a lot of people go like, I'm going to take the time out and mention that this toilet paper actually was self-absorbent or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? It's sort of like, so there's more negatives because people view that as like some sort of way to communicate, but especially, and I wouldn't call it bullying, but just sort of like, and I wouldn't call it haters, but they've been called haters too, but it just seems like the brain is more inclined to go, if I'm going to get on and say something, the ones that want to say something negative have an extra sort of, oh, wait a second, I do have time to get this in there because I gotta say it, versus there's probably an equal amount of people that thought he was great, but they didn't really find it necessary to spout that off on the internet because they were like, yeah, he was good, you know? So I can't see how he can match that song live anyway. I don't know if you heard his album, Jordan, or his song, but his stuff is just, if you've got 64 tracks, he's probably got 320 things going. It's just, it's super, super, super layered. A little bit, there's a lot of, there used to be that cartoon of Don't Drown Your Food, like one of those Saturday morning things about like the guy talking about like don't put too much salad dressing on your salad because all the flavors get drowned out and stuff. And that's, it's sort of that wall of sound sort of speak that he puts on his albums is just like so much. It's not sort of separated, with nuances and stuff. So, but I certainly respect anybody that's going to get up there, especially on national TV, and perform regardless of what level you're at. That takes a lot of self-confidence and balls. So, I'm glad.
Yeah, and I mean, it still technically worked in his favor because they got a lot of people talking about it. I mean, his video became the most watched video in Good Morning America or Today Show, whichever one he was on, in their history. So much so that they wound up calling him back to do another song.
That's
right.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
So in the end, it definitely helped to get the word out there. So, I mean, all publicity, I guess, is good publicity in the end.
Yeah.
So, Jordan, Jordan, you need to tour with Corey Feldman. You need to go on today's show. It sounds like you guys are, sounds like that would work out.
That sounds great. Let's do
it. Of Corey Feldman.
Jordan Feldman. There we go. That could be like the Cordan.
Because Corey still pushes the Michael Jackson sort of vibe and look,
Right. Yeah. We'll call us Cordan.
Cordan. Yeah, Cordan. There we go. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Dave will have to get you his email, and then Cordan can become a reality.
I ship Cordan.
Cordan. And,
that would be a pretty amazing show, though, because he's such a character, and you're like a rock star on the stage. I mean,
what if it's called the two Cordans, and you guys actually play accordions too? You know what I mean? In like these Michael Jackson polka outfits. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Let's call it Life According to Accordion.
Yeah, Life According to Accordion. Cordon Bleu. Cordon Bleu. You have that'll be your your food album, I guess.
Mhm. Oh my Lord.
Got a ton of CD ideas, name title ideas here.
Yeah. So, well, what else do we want to talk about, guys? Is there anything else, Creech? Because I don't know how much you really want to dive into. We've chatted about The Walking Dead, but I don't want to put Jordan in a place where he can't talk about something. It's always, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh man, our next question was going to be, so what happens to the rest of the season?
We all hold hands and sing Kumbaya, and that's it.
Nobody died.
Nope.
Nobody died at all. That's the important. Never.
Yep.
One last question from me. So you killed Negan, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we heard it. It's here.
With the percussion device.
Your character goes...
With a piano. Yeah, I drop a piano on him.
Drop a piano. That's it's like on the string, like one of those Laurel and Hardy movies, and Wile E. Coyote. That is
exactly.
Probably the only way. That probably is. They ought to just go right to that type of thinking and going like, how do we paint a fake cave and have Negan and his crew drive through it? You know what I mean? Like a wall of
yeah.
It just may work.
What was your question, CJ?
I actually had you on probably around this time last year on my old podcast, Creech Question, Cheap Blood again. And we had you on and we were talking about one of your favorite moments from last season, but you weren't sure if it would make the DVD or not. And if I recall seeing that on the deleted scenes, they didn't have this scene, but you said there was a scene that you had filmed that you really enjoyed. Are you able to shed some light on that now that the DVD is already out?
I unfortunately I don't think I can. But it was very cool because it was one of the I can go into this depth that it was a moment that was unlike anything else that I've seen in The Walking Dead. I think in that it was in a dream sequence. And I don't think we haven't seen like nightmares or dreams in the show, and then seen like the character wake up and realize, oh, I was just dreaming. But that happened in one of these episodes last season, and that got cut out. But it was a very cool, where at the end of it was one of those moments where I was reading a script and I was like, what? And then right as you think, oh my God, this can't get any worse, then you see the person wake up and, in a cold sweat, presumably, because they just had a nightmare. And that was just very cool to film because it was something that was it had to be grounded in reality, and there was no reason to think that it wasn't real while it was going on. But then you also got that sigh of relief at the end of it, which we aren't always afforded with the show. So, most of the time you just walk away feeling anxious still, or desperate, or sad, or scared, or whatever. But this one, you actually got that little bit of, oh, okay, good, I can let that one go then. But yeah, I think that's probably, unfortunately, that's probably all I can say.
Well, that sounds epic, and I'm trying to figure out where that could fit in, but I don't even know what episode that would make sense that would be in.
I know.
But everybody's going to be seeing a lot of you soon, for sure, with both you're back on The Walking Dead this week. You were filming in that episode, but you've also got Nashville coming up, and the new season of that. Plus, I've seen you post about it. I don't remember the name of it, but there's a show, I believe it's on TNT or TBS that's coming on that you did a role or a quick role in.
Yeah, there's a show called Good Behavior coming to TNT November 15th. So at the time of recording this, it's next week. And anyone who watched Downton Abbey will recognize Michelle Dockery as the show's number one. Her name is Letty, and she is she's a woman who is out of prison early for good behavior, and she's trying to be a better person, but she is still a thief and a con artist and a bunch of other fun stuff. So I've seen the first episode, and I've seen a lot of trailers for it, and it's got a very cool vibe to it. It's definitely like con artist, thriller meets true comedy, and then also some action in there too. So I think it's going to make a lot of people very happy. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
And are you a recurring regular, or are you doing like a guest starring on that, or what's up with that?
As of this episode, I only had a couple lines in it, so about 2 lines. They set it up one way that I thought I might be recurring, but I think they're done filming the first season, so I think chances are slim that I will be recurring. But you never know. Maybe I go hunt down Letty in a future episode. We'll find out. Time will tell, my friend. Time will tell.
Yeah, and it's an old habits die hard type of show, I guess. She gets out and sort of fights her usual ways. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah, that's what it feels like, for sure. But yeah, and Michelle Dockery is just a wonderful person, and she led, 5 seasons on Downton Abbey? Is that right? Is it more than that?
I think around there, yeah.
I think it's about 5 seasons. And so, yeah, now she's in filming in Wilmington and doing some cool stuff for TNT. So yeah, check it out. I think it's gonna be fun.
Awesome.
And then Nashville. My episodes. I do have a recurring guest star in Nashville, which is going to be on CMT now, and season 5 starts airing in January, and I'll be early in season 5. You'll be able to see me. So check that out on CMT. It's going to be fun.
What was it on before?
Technically,
ABC or something?
It was I think it was ABC. Yeah.
Okay, got
it. So technically, I don't know if it's still going on or if it's still airing, Dave, but you and Jordan have a show on the same network with your.
Yeah, no, I think that show that I just wrote and produced on that, it was called the Ed Bassmaster Show. I think that's done. Yeah, I have no idea. I should. I'm not involved in season 2 if they're doing anything more with it, but I'm pretty sure they aired whatever they've already aired. So I don't know anything. I could hit the guy up, but you're on a lot of. Why does every network have 3 letters? Well, not everyone. I'm sure there's ones that have more than 3 letters. ESPN has 4, obviously, but they all start to sound the same, though. You're saying CMT, then there's TNT. There's either a T in it somewhere, or a C, you know, or an N.
Right.
An
Yeah,
NBC.
network channel or T. What's TNT?
Television.
Turner Network Television.
Yeah. There you go.
Network. So I would have that would be mine. Network Television Channel. NTC. I don't know if there's an NTCR out there, but that would be, if I had to start one, I'd be like, yeah, that's my network.
NTC. That's great.
NTC, Network Television Channel.
Perfect.
It's like the kids, that's like my book. You know what I mean? Like, what's the name of your television channel? Yeah, that's it, television channel. We're one of the biggest now, just because we are television channel. You can't get any bigger than us. We are everything. We're television channel. With that, all right. Well, Jordan, pleasure having you on. You announce our show, so do we need him to do a what do we call those?
An outro now? Or wait, are you talking about the intro? No, I got one with him in Nashville doing the You're Listening. It's still kind of weird, though, with Jordan, because when he does the, hi, I'm Jordan, you're listening to the Dave and Creech Show, and then it goes straight to him talking, doing it. It's just kind of funny.
That's funny.
That's great.
Well, awesome.
Well,
I'm glad. Thank you guys for being on my show.
Yeah.
That I introduce, and
exactly.
I hope to have you guys back again soon.
You're the only guest we can always have on that actually introduces the show, and then you're on as a guest. You know what I mean? It's kind of like It's sort of like having the announcer then come over to the couch and do an interview. But it's a pleasure and it's an honor to have you on when you do come on. And again, just to recap, his album is called Anthem, available at Jordan's website, also available at iTunes, also available at Apple Music and Amazon. And, obviously he's on The Walking Dead this season, so we know our fans will be watching that, but also Good Behavior on TNT and on Nashville coming up, I think you said in either January or March or something like that. That'll be
January.
On TNT. There
you
go.
That's it.
Great. You're going to be everywhere. So
I never realized it until you laid it all out like that. I'm like, oh, well, yeah, this is going to be a busy year.
Exactly.
No wonder I don't have time to tour.
Exactly. All right,
and also, anytime anyone's in Orlando, stop by and see me at Blue Man Group. I will be there. Send me a message beforehand.
But that Blue Man Group is at Universal Studios Orlando, or where is it at?
Yeah.
Where do you?
Yeah.
Okay,
Universal Studios City Walk.
Got it. Universal Studios City Walk. Okay, great. Yep, that's perfect. I may take you up on that.
Please do. Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'd love to do a show for you.
All right, man. I'm out of here.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. This is a great episode.
Yeah.
Later, Creech. Later, Jordan.
Always a
pleasure.
pleasure.
Later. Bye.
All right, appreciate you. Bye, y'all. Bye.
Well, that is another episode of Dave and Creech. Episode 40 is in the history book, and it couldn't have been a better one. I think we're getting towards those fantastic episodes. Well, I wanted to thank Jordan Woods Robinson for making episode 40 fantastic. I'm looking forward to seeing him on those other shows, and definitely looking forward to seeing where The Walking Dead goes and where his role of Eric takes its turn, because my money is on Eric being the Jezebel Trojan horse. I think Negan will fall in love with Eric. They will have a torrid relationship, lots of romantic getaways. Negan's got a lot of stuff up his sleeve, and I think one of them is a hot air balloon. We know Jordan loves those balloons. He's the one that blew up the balloons on the, the Pied Piper, let's lead the zombies out of the what was that thing that they were all in? It was like I forget what they call that, a quarry, right?
Yeah, rock quarry.
I like how the zombies were in a quarry, and a quarry is a collection. Quarry. So it was technically a collection of zombies in the quarry. It was a metaphor. Anyway, I guess it's a metaphor. listeners enjoyed this episode of the Dave and Creech Show. We'll be back next week with another episode. It will be episode 41. We can't give it away. We're going to have a super, super special guest. I'm just saying that. I have no idea myself.
I do.
But thank you for listening. You know.
I do know.
You know who it is? Okay. Don't give it away to me. I like to be unprepared.
Okay.
Off the cuff. I don't like to use teleprompters. And that seems to work out well in this country. So hopefully it works out well for me. Dave Sheridan, DJ Creech, signing off for the Dave and Creech Show. Tune in next week, everyone.
Shut up and sit down.
Thank you for listening to the Dave and Creech Show. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of Dave and CJ. These views and opinions do not necessarily represent those of Creech Creative Productions or any of its affiliates.